Yet another Trump indictment. Can the WGA strike finish already? Reality needs some new material. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried is no longer freed, and the bizarre Hunter Biden probe gets bizarrier. And more on this week's headlines. Home to America Uncovered, I'm Chris Chappell. Stop me if you've heard this one before. Former President Donald Trump has been indicted. Trump has now received 4 criminal indictments. I've repeated myself so many times, I'm starting to feel like one of those NPCs on TikTok. Trump is indicted. Trump is indicted. Gang, gang. But this time he isn't alone. Trump and 18 of his allies, including his attorney Rudy Giuliani, have been indicted for allegedly trying to overturn Georgia's results in the 2020 presidential election. One of the charges being brought against Trump and his allies is racketeering. This is usually used against mafia criminals. Ironically, this type of charge was pioneered by Rudy Giuliani when he worked as a federal prosecutor in New York in the 1980s tackling the mob. And now he might get taken down by it. This is all shocking to learn, at least that's what I would say, if it weren't for the fact that a Fulton County, Georgia website Monday morning posted, then quickly removed the 13 counts that Trump was charged with later that evening. Was this meant to go to the court's Patreon subscribers to get exclusive early access to criminal charges? It's curious this went out before the grand jurors were even finished meeting. But don't worry, there's a perfectly logical explanation. They obviously have the precogs from Minority Report. They're just trying to figure out the best way to let the world know science fiction has become science fact. A Georgia State University law professor says this error shouldn't affect the case, explaining, "I think this tells us what charges they are planning to present to the grand jury, and the grand jury could say no." They could, but they obviously didn't. Upon hearing about the website error, Trump simply smiled, shrugged, and said, "It's okay, we all make mistakes. I trust the U.S. justice system to be swift and fair." Just kidding, he's blowing an absolute gasket and going on a virtual tirade. He started by sending out an email to his followers saying, "The grand jury testimony has not even finished, but it's clear the district attorney has already decided how this case will end. They're trying to rob me of my right to due process. This is an absolute disgrace." Trump is using the story to try and raise funds, which sounds sleazy, but it's actually smart. Because the only true way to ensure you receive justice in America is with lots of money. Just ask O.J. Simpson and his dream team. Trump said he would share a report on Monday that shows irrefutable proof there was fraud in the 2020 election and that this will exonerate him. And why did he wait almost 3 years to release this? Dramatic effect, I guess, but I believe him. Just like I believe O.J. will find the real killer any day now. But his lawyers convinced him to put the evidence in formal legal filings instead, so as not to be charged with obstruction. Trump also took to Truth Social to attack Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, saying she desperately wants to indict him and waited until now to bring charges to hurt his chances in the 2024 election, and that she's the one committing real election interference. So Trump's being charged for election interference, but saying she's the one interfering in an election. The old "I am rubber, you are glue" defense. Yeah, it's maybe a good idea Trump is trying to raise money for lawyers. He's one post away from citing the landmark case of "Nuh-uh, you are." This indictment is unique for Trump, as the other 3 are federal cases. If he wins the presidential election, he could hypothetically pardon himself for those. But since this is a state case, he won't have the power to do that. Some say this makes the most compelling case against Trump yet, which might be true, if it weren't for the fact that this is his 4th indictment in just as many months. So it's hard to get worked up over it. Trump's indictments feel like the MCU at this point. It was all exciting at first, but now every time a new one comes out, I'm just like, another? Can I just jump in, or do I need to watch 6 Disney Plus shows to know what the heck's been happening? So all of these Trump indictments, and especially the unusual way the most recent one was rolled out, beg the question, is this whole thing a witch hunt like Trump says? Many are saying the indictments are proof America is turning into a banana republic, with a weaponized Department of Justice going after a political rival. Although I think the main way America is turning into a banana republic is that everything is garish and overpriced. But the timing of all of his indictments is curious, as they seem to coincidentally drop and distract right as new bad news comes out about the Hunter Biden probe. And the Department of Justice is seemingly operating very differently when dealing with the president's son versus his greatest political rival. More on that later. Accidentally releasing Trump's charges before the grand jury is even done convening makes it look like they're rushing to get him indicted on a specific day, and just throwing Trump against the wall and seeing what sticks, besides his spray tan. We'll have an in-depth look at the latest indictment next week. Hopefully, there won't be 3 more indictments before then. And after the break, the Hawaii fire gets much worse. Welcome back. The death toll from the Maui, Hawaii wildfires continue to rise. Hawaii Governor Josh Green warned that the death toll of the wildfires raging across the islands won't be known for some time, and recovery crews could find upwards of 10 to 20 victims per day. This has become the deadliest American wildfire in over a century. It's the biggest flaming disaster to unleash itself on mankind since Facebook and Twitter. Thankfully, it will be extinguished much sooner and won't spread nearly as far. Speaking of Facebook and Twitter, the Elon Musk-Mark Zuckerberg cage match appears to be off. Zuckerberg says it's time to move on. As he explained on Threads, "I offered a real date. Dana White offered to make this a legit competition for charity. Elon won't confirm a date. Then he says he needs surgery and now asks to do a practice round in my backyard instead. If Elon ever gets serious about a real date and official event, he knows how to reach me." Elon Musk is still trying to battle the Meta CEO, though. He offered to have the cage fight managed by his and Zuckerberg's foundations, with proceeds going to veterans and Italian pediatric hospitals, as he wants the bout to take place in ancient Rome. Musk even went so far as to talk to the Italian culture minister about hosting the fight. But since Zuckerberg is moving on, Musk said he would go to his house, fight him there, and live stream it on X. Though when he showed up to his house, Zuckerberg wasn't there. This is completely ridiculous. Not the billionaire showing up to another billionaire's house to fight him. That's rad as heck. It's ridiculous to stream that on X and not on World Star Hip Hop. Musk should have bought that site instead of Twitter. It makes perfect sense, since it's popular among African Americans like Elon Musk. A Montana judge says the state's use of fossil fuels violated citizens' constitutional rights. This is the first case of its kind where a state government is being deemed responsible for protecting its citizens from climate change. It'll be up to Montana lawmakers to determine how to implement a plan to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and the harms they cause. In fact, a study conducted from 1998 to 2016 showed that living in areas with high amounts of air pollution can increase your risk for dementia. And there's proof of this. Since LA has some of the worst air pollution in the country, and I challenge you to find anyone more demented than the citizens of Los Angeles. Speaking of demented degenerates, disgraced FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried. Last year, Bankman-Fried was arrested on multiple fraud charges for allegedly running a massive cryptocurrency scam that led to the implosion of his company. He will now be spending the months before his October trial in the same Brooklyn prison that housed Ghislaine Maxwell. The prison has been criticized for reprehensible conditions such as dirty cells and maggot-infested food. Bankman-Fried is being moved here after being caught engaging in witness tampering. He leaked letters to the New York Times from his former lover, Caroline Ellison, who worked with him at FTX and pleaded guilty to several fraud and money laundering charges herself. She's expected to be a star witness against Bankman-Fried. I'm not sure if he'll be able to use his vegan diet as an excuse to get released from this jail. I didn't realize being a vegan could get you out of jail. Usually the only thing being vegan ever gets you out of is the possibility of being invited to dinner parties ever again. One of the charges Bankman-Fried was originally facing was a campaign finance scheme, but this was dropped along with a few of his fraud charges for diplomatic reasons while trying to extradite him from the Bahamas, as that charge wasn't listed on his warrant. However, he's being recharged in a new indictment alleging he used $100 million in stolen funds to donate more than legally allowed to Republicans and Democrats to try and appear bipartisan and gain influence in both parties. Wait, so a rich and powerful businessman who attempted to manipulate politicians on both sides is thrown in a substandard prison? Gee, what's the worst that could happen? What's that precogs for Minority Report? Sam Bankman-Fried doesn't kill himself. Bankman-Fried had 2 co-conspirators within the company and had them make donations to candidates on the left and right, but allegedly wanted the Republican donations to be harder to trace to the source. Prosecutors say a political consultant working for Bankman-Fried asked co-conspirator 1 to make the contribution and told co-conspirator 1, in general, you being the center-left face of our spending will mean you giving a lot of woke shit for transactional purposes. He wanted to finance woke shit? Does that mean he's also funding the live-action Snow White remake? He should be locked up for that alone. And after the break, a Democrat congressman wants Joe Biden to quit. Welcome back. Dean Phillips, a Democrat congressman from Minnesota, says that while he respects President Joe Biden, he fears that if he runs for president, it will lead to a Trump win. Phillips thinks it's time for Biden to pass the torch, preferably to a moderate Democratic governor from a battleground state.
I'm actively inviting, encouraging, to some degree imploring that people who are ready and know it's probably time to do so, take the chance.
It's probably not a great sign when someone from your own team is imploring people to take a chance and run against you. Biden isn't very popular, and he could lose even more momentum if Republicans find a way to indict him over his alleged participation in his son's shady business deals. Meanwhile, according to a recent Reuters Ipsos poll, about half of the Republicans surveyed said they wouldn't vote for Trump if he were convicted of a felony. So the 2024 presidential election will likely be between two candidates embroiled in scandal. Why can't presidential candidates be more like Robin Christensen? Who? Exactly. He's the mayor of Dover, the capital of Delaware, naturally. There's so little scandal around this guy that when you try to Google him, and this is 100% true, the first person who comes up is Robin Christensen Rosimov, the daughter of Andre the Giant. He's so inoffensive, the offspring of a wrestler who has been dead for 30 years is somehow more noteworthy. Which once again proves my theory. The benchmark of being a competent local politician is that if I've heard of you, you've messed up. Speaking of Biden's scandals, Hunter Biden's lawyers say prosecutors reneged on a plea deal, many called a sweetheart deal, that would clear up his tax and gun charges. This may now go to a criminal trial. Hunter Biden's attorney blames Department of Justice prosecutors for this, saying, and so the possibilities are only: 1, they wrote something and weren't clear what they meant; 2, they knew what they meant and misstated it to counsel; or 3rd, they changed their view as they were standing in court in Delaware. Essentially, he's saying, no takesies backsies, which is about 1.5 steps more complex than the old I'm rubber, you're glue defense. Hunter might also want to think about raising funds to hire a better legal defense team, especially since his lead attorney, Christopher Clark, is dropping him as a client. This is because Clark may be called as a witness if it does indeed go to criminal trial. As if all this wasn't enough, and yet another twist to this case that's already more twisted than Twizzlers tied together in a French braid, U.S. Attorney Merrick Garland announced that U.S. Attorney David Weiss, who's been overseeing the Hunter Biden investigation, has been appointed to special counsel, which gives him expanded powers. This could be a good thing, as an IRS whistleblower, Gary Shapley, claims Weiss was blocked from charging Hunter, though Weiss denies this. But Shapley also claims that someone in the DOJ tipped off the Biden transition team and Secret Service in December 2020 about a planned interview with Hunter Biden that then didn't take place. An FBI agent has corroborated the story with the House Oversight Committee. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer said tipping off the transition team and not being able to interview Hunter Biden as planned are just a couple of examples that reveal the Justice Department's misconduct in the Biden criminal investigation that occurred under U.S. Attorney Weiss's watch. The whole thing is like wearing socks with sandals to the beach. Not a good look. But even though Weiss was elevated as special counsel, congressional Republicans are upset about this, saying it will make it harder for Congress to investigate Hunter's business dealings. House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith said, "I'm worried that this special counsel will only try to block Congress' legislative authority to investigate. And let me tell you, we're not going to slow down because this isn't about Hunter Biden. This is about President Biden and his influence and how his son has helped enrich the entire Biden family." So is the Department of Justice operating on two different levels for two different indicted individuals and letting politics get in the way? Well, the Justice Department is run by the Attorney General, who's appointed by the President, who's the father of one of the accused, which makes it hard to think Hunter isn't going to try to use the ultimate legal defense. Do you know who my dad is? Weiss was the architect of the sweetheart plea deal that Hunter received. And now that he's been appointed as special counsel, Hunter's lawyers are arguing to keep the gun portion of the plea deal, which also shields him against federal prosecution for some other potential crimes. This immunity is what made the initial plea deal collapse when the judge questioned it. Something here definitely smells off. So what's the truth? It's hard to say with all the conflicting reports. All I know for sure is I'm going to be covering these Trump and Hunter stories for at least the next 15 months, repeating myself like an NPC, a news playable character. Trump is indicted, Hunter is shady, gang, gang. But speaking of shady, here's a video I want you to check out. It's about how the media is for some reason pretending like there isn't a problem with, well, I'll just call them PDFs. And YouTube is actively suppressing the video, so be sure to watch it while it's still up. And if you want to make sure we can keep making episodes like this, click that orange button to support us on Patreon. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.